All right, so Unity fortunately did give us a way to connect to cross-connect these two separate NavMesh surfaces really easily. It's fairly easily. We'll see some reasons why we can't, why it's not so easy in a minute. All right, so I have these two edges that I want to connect. The two surfaces over here, I want to connect them across this edge. Now, normally you would have to create an OffMeshLink which would connect one point to another, and you would have to create those across every single one of these. So what people have done in the past is actually write scripts to say from this transform to this transform, or this edge to this edge, vertice to vertice, create a series of them, and it would cross-connect them for you. And then you could do something to adjust the entire line at a time, and that would be pretty easy. Unity came out with their own version of this in the experimental tools, which, to be honest, it does make it a lot easier than it could be, than having to do a whole bunch of individual ones. So I'm over here at the edge of this edge, and I want to start adding this point. So I'm going to try to center it on my screen, and let's create a new game object where I'm going to try to connect that entire edge across in one pass. So I'm going to go over here, create empty, and I need to make sure it's in the right position. So I'm going to try aligning it to where I think it should be on this. And then I'm going to start moving around, and I can see that's definitely not the right spot. So let's start getting this thing lined up. So it's close to the center, and then I need that to be, let's get a little closer here. That's obviously not in the right spot. Let's move it to here. And then we need to move up a bit. Are we close? That looks pretty close to me. It's a little bit off, and especially the closer we get, we can see more distance that it's off. There, good enough for me. It's going to be off by a little bit. We'll see that the way that they designed this tool, it doesn't need to be completely on or off, but it can matter a lot. You can have a lot of effect if you don't have it centered to where you want it. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and create a NavMeshLink. NavMeshLink is what connects these 2 points, and immediately you see it's trying to connect this point to this point. What makes this better than an OffMeshLink is that beyond the points and this fact that you can individually click them is the fact that it has a width. So I can click this and expand it out, and I can cover a large area to allow things to connect and pass from one spot to another. All right, so let's take a look at how this works. Right now, the width, I want the width to be going across from there to there. So to set this up, I need to actually adjust where these points are. So to begin with, I'm going to click one of these, which I think I have the starting position. Yeah, this is the starting position. You see how I'm clicking and moving it by dragging it, and it's adjusting the start point numbers. All right, I'm going to drag this over to, say, about here. And then I'm going to click the other one, the end point, and I'm going to drag this down and to around the same point. Okay, so this is not that exact, but do you see that line there? How this is actually part of a semi-transparent object. You can see there's a semi-transparent object, the rectangle for that boundary, that area that it's connecting. That shows me that they're connected. If I have them a little too far away from the area, it'll go to transparent, and that means there is no connection. It doesn't understand how to connect any surfaces with where it is right now. So I need to make sure it's down and connected. Next, I need to make sure these are lined up. So when I'm trying to align these, I'm going to adjust this rectangle until they're pretty close. But since I can only adjust width here with these, they're going to get a little farther and farther off the more I move it out, especially when I'm talking about a width of this magnitude. Actually, I got that pretty close to center, but I do need it a little bit more off there. Let's click away from the object and back in so I can transform the real transform that I want and move it in, and I'd say that's close enough. All right, so I have this object. Now, this side is sticking out only on the bottom, and this side over here is sticking out only on the top, but I don't even think that's touching anything. Yeah, that doesn't even cross this border right here. So I don't even know if that's going to do anything. But it's close. Let's test it out and see if it works. All right, so play. R is the hotkey in my code to make this start moving around. We should see a lot of these units making their way down to the bottom, and some of them are. That's great. They're making their way down there. It's having some trouble getting down, and I think that has a lot to do with the alignment issues. But obviously, it's able to connect to another surface now. So that NavMeshLink is working. But that's going to be a pain to solve for all the 42 edges of this low poly object, because there's 42 separate edges that I would have to connect and go through that painstaking work. So we're really going to need an automated solution here to get those aligned.